graphic nature of this program, listener discretion is advised.
A huge welcome to Andy Dowling, bass player from the Australian metal powerhouse Lord. Andy, it's a real pleasure to have you join us on The Heavy Session.
Thank you very much for having me.
The 1st of August, a bit of an auspicious and special day for Lord, as it heralded the release of Fallen Idols, your new album.
I can't even put into words the feelings that I've had with this date looming. It's been a work in progress for so many years, and it just felt like the day would never come. So when the 1st of August ticked over, I'm like, is this real? Like, has this actually happened? Because I think we're here. I don't think we have to sort of stress about the lead up anymore. We've unleashed it to the world, and now we have to sort of sit back and see what happens.
I just can't believe it. I mean, because it's been 6 years since your last album release.
Yeah, it's been a long time between studio albums, and we've been busy in between. We've done a live album and a box set, and we've re-recorded a lot of the back catalogue and a couple of EPs, and we've toured overseas. So we've been sort of keeping everything moving, but it's just been this album that's been sort of sitting out of reach for the past 6 years, and we've kept saying, well, we want to do it. We kind of know what we want to put out, like what sort of direction we want to go, but no one could actually sort of take those steps to make it happen. So about 3 years ago, we got together and said, okay, this is what we're going to do. This is the direction we want. This is the kind of outcome that we're looking for. Okay, what do we do? And then so we started putting it all together. But even that was 3 years of back and forth and delays and things not going to plan. And I mean, we got there in the end. So, yeah, better late than never.
Yeah, it's a long process, recording and conceiving an album, dare I say that. I have got it on constant play in my house. My cat just adores it.
Well, I think that's great validation. That's something that I was looking for, that if your cat likes it, then I think that's a good indication of the quality of the release. So I think we need to put that into our PR.
Oh, you know what? Well, she was sitting next to the speakers, nodding her head and kind of this weird grin on her face.
I love it.
6 years. It's gone really quickly. But as you said, you guys haven't been resting on your laurels by any means. And you've just come back from a bit of a tour around the country as well. Yeah,
so we don't like to do anything in the normal sort of approach or stereotypical way. We've definitely gone the backwards approach with this release and the lead up. So we booked a tour around the country and did most of the main haunts, and it worked out really well for us. I mean, it's been a while since we've got out and played some shows, and it was a great way to sort of build a little bit of hype leading up to the release. And it wasn't exactly the intention, because we were kind of hoping that the album would be out earlier. But then we sort of thought, okay, well, how can we spin this in a way, or be creative with what we've done, or what we've created here in front of us? So but we're really happy with the way that those shows went, especially like we decided to actually print the album in advance and offer the album to people at the shows as a little thank you for supporting us and coming out, and they got sort of early dibs on the album. So for some people, they've had the album since I think the first show was on the 21st of June. So some people have had it for several weeks and have been really enjoying it. So it's a nice little thing for the people that support us.
That's the first pressing, and did that first pressing have a few extra songs on it?
Yeah, so we decided that we would try to, I guess with, like a lot of bands these days, we go through like a pre-order campaign leading up to the release date. And so we thought we'd do something a little bit extra special for those people that would just buy and support us. So we thought, let's give them bang for buck. So we dumped a few extra songs on the first pressing, and there's a couple of cover songs. We've got a John Farnham cover song, Break the Ice, and Icehouse's Touch the Fires on there. And we've also got an extra studio track and an original called In Dreams. And that was on the first pressing, and I'm standing in my office at the moment. I've got the last 6 CDs left that I'm just packing up to send off, and that's officially sold out now. So we're really, really happy with how it's gone, and those songs will be available digitally, so people can still grab them. But the hard copies are now off and sitting with people around the world. So it's the best pre-order campaign that we've ever had for any Dungeon or Lord release. So we're just, and especially in this day and age with, the way that people digest music is so different. We're amazed that we're in the position that we are with so many people buying CDs still. So it's been really good.
I love listening to things digitally, but I adore having the physical copy that I can put into my CD player at home and into the car and all that sort of thing. So I am one of those people that adores CDs.
Absolutely.
So I totally get it. But yeah, I was listening to it a little while on Instagram, just the snippets that you guys have uploaded. Touch the Fire and Break the Ice. I was just like, yeah, that's awesome. So it was like a touch of, the touch of Australiana right there.
It definitely, and it's a nostalgic sort of thing. I mean, I think a big sort of thing behind us as a collective band is that we just love, we're big music fans. We've grown up with a lot of pop, a lot of classic rock, a lot of metal, and everything in between, and a great song's a great song. And so for us, we're not ashamed to sort of admit some of those more guilty pleasures. And like, I think Icehouse and John Farnham aren't exactly the most guilty of pleasures out there, but we love to celebrate the music that's inspired and influenced us over the years. So those two are just two of many covers that we've done over the years of putting out our own take of these classic songs. And one thing on that Icehouse one, I've got a podcast myself, and I had Steve Bull, who's the bass player for Icehouse, on many years ago, and I sent him a copy of the cover, and he flicked it over to Ivor Davies, and Ivor Davies said that he absolutely loved it. So I thought, oh, there you go. I can hang up the towel now. I don't need to do anything more in life. I've hit the bucket list. That's great.
That is so awesome. Oh, that must have been really exciting to be able to have that feedback.
It's incredible. Just to know that somebody who's like as iconic as that, who's just giving the thumbs up, is just it's just a really cool feeling. And I mean, I've got to try and get John Farnham to hear it, so we'll see how it goes. So that'll be my next target.
So talking about being able to get people's hands on it, so the album is available on Bandcamp or our favourite online music store or streaming service. What about physical copies?
Yeah, so what we've done is, digitally you can get it everywhere. So all the usual haunts, it's easy to get, so very easy to find. From a physical point of view, yes, that first pressing is now sold out, but we have just received the second CD pressing. It doesn't have the bonus tracks on there, so it's just the 10 standard studio tracks, but you are able to get sort of digital downloads of bonus content from Bandcamp. So we're trying to keep the bonus songs exclusive to our online store, but it's easy to find, but we'll still have physical CDs available, and we'll just continue to reprint them. As we continue to expand our little empire with the new album, we are looking at vinyl releases internationally. So we've got a couple of people in Europe that want to press a vinyl version, so that's going to have different bonus tracks. Japan's releasing their version next week on the 7th, and that's got a couple of those bonus tracks as well as a Iron Maiden cover, Judas Be My Guide, so that's on there. And so depending on how enthusiastic people are, there'll be lots of different ways that people can slowly collect all these extra songs, but they might have to do a little bit of digging. So we'll try and make it as easy as possible for people, though. They
can pop over to your website, www.law.net.au, and also over to Dominus Records, and they can pick up some merch as well while they're there.
Absolutely, yeah. We're stocked up. We're ready to go. We're ready to give you bang for buck.
Excellent. I'll pop over later today.
Love it.
What can people expect with this album? What's new with this album?
It's the ultimate mixtape. A big thing behind this album is sort of a bit of a throwback to when all of us were young and getting into heavy music, where we didn't have to worry about all the unique subgenres of metal and rock and all the elitism that sort of comes with it. It was just this wondrous sort of time of discovery of just listening to heavy guitars and going, wow, this is incredible. And you'd have a mixtape that would have everything from Bon Jovi to Bathory to Slayer to Creator to Iron Maiden to Judas Priest, everything. And it's just all mixed together. And so we kind of wanted to get that essence into the album. And we've been known to have a very eclectic mix of elements that make up our sound. We have a power ballad, and then like a black and thrash song, then mixed with a classic heavy metal song, then a power metal song, and everything in between. But we've managed to sort of create this formula that sounds like Lord. We've now sort of developed this sound, and so it's a real throwback. It's a nostalgic trip, but it's with a fresh sound, modern production, so it doesn't sound dated. And I think we've done a pretty good job. I mean, we've had this vision in our head of what we wanted it to be, and I think now listening to it, I think we've done a pretty good job, and the feedback so far sort of validates that as well. So we want people to listen to it and to almost rediscover that first love of what metal was all about, what heavy guitars was all about. Just get that fire again. That when we, like for me, like one of the first bands I ever heard was, I remember watching Rage when I was a kid, and I saw Fear of the Dark live at Donington, Iron Maiden.
Yes.
And I couldn't get my head around what I was watching. I didn't understand it. I didn't understand the music. I didn't understand the mass of people and the chanting and everything. I'd never experienced anything like that in my life. And the electricity, that fire, that energy that I got, and I just kept rewinding because I taped it. I was too young. My parents wouldn't let me stay up at night. So I was watching it Sunday morning and just rewinding it, rewinding on the old VCR. And I just couldn't, that feeling, it's just so hard to replicate. And so for us, it's like, how do we capture that? How do we capture that sort of feeling? So for Lord fans, they are going to get the best of our whole back catalogue. So it's got elements from our first era's Dungeon, but it's also got a lot of throwbacks to some of our last albums, Set in Stone, Digitalized, Ascendance, and we've sort of just picked all the things that have sort of stuck out and what people love about us and tried to keep that consistency and keep it going. So there's no scary moments in here where people go, oh geez, what direction are you going in? It's a nice comfortable album, but it's an exciting album for people, especially people that love us.
I think it's a great album. On first listen, I went, oh yeah, this is quintessentially Lord, big riffs, honest ideas, and as it kind of made its way through, it's just, there was so many new ideas and such a freshness to the whole album. It was just such great listening. The varied state of the Australian metal scene is kind of, I don't know, you're pushing into all those different genres and pulling them together, and I think it's just fantastic. I just love it. That's what I love about music. It makes you excited and just makes you bounce around the room. That's
Absolutely.
What you want.
Yeah, definitely. And I think for us, like, we've always been fairly selfless with the way that we've approached our music and representing our country as well. Like, I mean, we're very sort of, we're patriotic in the sense of, our music and our peers that also play music, and we know how hard it's been for decades with bands trying to get recognised down here, down the Southern Hemisphere, and these days, I mean, it's never been better. I mean, we've got so many great bands that are doing amazing things internationally on major labels, getting great festival spots, doing amazing tours around the world, and releasing, what will be and are starting to be iconic albums. And for us, I think we've always sort of done our best to celebrate our friends and our peers that are doing amazing things. And I think for us, another part of this album is what we hope is that it just continues to bring a spotlight on this great country and what so many bands are doing. And so hopefully people that may have not bothered to sort of dig into what this country has to offer may hear this album and think, okay, well, what else is going on down this part of the world? And hopefully, some of our friends may get a little bit of a spotlight put in their direction as well.
Absolutely. There is certainly so much good metal and good heavy music in general coming out of Australia, especially at the moment. So how has the songwriting changed over this album from your previous albums? Going in, did you have like a set, okay, this is what we want to do, or did you kind of feel your way, or what happened?
So, I mean, when we got together a few years ago, we looked at what we had been putting out and the types of songs that we've been recording up to that point. And I mean, I think we just came off the back of an EP where the title track was 24 minutes long. It was epic. It was this movie-esque cinematic sort of style song, which was fantastic. But we sort of looked at it and go, okay, we've done that now. So what can we do? What do we love, or where do we need to go? What direction do we need to go in? And we decided that we needed very punchy metal songs. We needed something that was straight to the point. Not that we were sort of dragging anything on in the past, but I think we wanted to sort of make a real clear statement with this album. And some songs are I think maybe the longest song on the album is probably around 6.5 to 7 minutes. But for the most part, most songs are sort of around the 3 to 4 minute mark. And they're very just to the point, punchy songs, guitar solos, sing-along choruses, very catchy. We just wanted it to be something that people could identify and connect with very quickly. And so that's all great in theory, but then you got to go, okay, we know what we want, so okay, where are the songs? We've got to find them now. So I think with this album, it's no different to any other album. It's been painful to try and get it together, and that's why it's taken so long, and lots of different things along the way. But Tim and Mark really took the reins with this album. Tim's a bit of a crazy man with his ideas. He reckons he has full songs stuck in his head and doesn't record them anywhere, and he keeps talking about this one song that's stuck in his head, and like 6 months later it's still in there. I'm like, where is it? And he's like, it's still in my head, I'll get to it. And then eventually he puts his demo down, and you go, oh my God, like, you really thought this one out, but how did you remember it? So between him and Mark, the guys have just put together this amazing album. I've thrown a few little bits and pieces in there, but for the most part, those guys just took the reins, and we've always sort of took the approach with any album that whoever's feeling it, whoever's got the juice, so to speak, give them the controls, and just let's see what we can do. There's no sort of I guess equal sort of stakes with writing or anything like that. It's whatever's best for the band, whatever the best tools are to get the job done is the direction that we go. And the guys just did an amazing job with this. And from my point of view, I guess I can say that a little bit more because they did take a large sort of chunk of this writing. So I've almost come into this looking at it and going, I'm a real fan of what you guys like collectively have done, and I've sort of really been a little bit of a fanboy watching the guys put it all together and just really enjoying the process, and now getting to hear the final product. It's just it's fantastic.
So in regards to recording processes, is everyone in the studio at once, or do you guys do it like separate, or how does that work?
Very separate. So we're one of those. Look, I'm sure there's other bands out there that are exactly the same as us, but whenever we get together, it's very difficult to try and be cohesive and work together. We get together for rehearsals, and we kind of have a game plan going into it. But when we're exchanging ideas or being creative, everyone seems to work really well in isolation. So. The wonders of the internet and connectivity and everything, we utilise Dropbox. We use the hell out of Dropbox. We exchange riffs, song ideas. Everyone's got their own sort of mini setup at home, their little home studio, so they can track demos and record. And we just flick things backwards and forwards and sort of slowly mould things together. And then with this album, what we did is once we sort of had the basic demo of the entire album sort of planned out, then we started to track it, and then that's when we started to break down the entire thing and go, okay, so we need to get the drums down in place. Okay, so then bass will come in, and Tim is our secret weapon. I mean, he has produced and mastered the album. He's been recording us for years, and pretty much he's been the main guy behind all the albums over the years. And so he'll engineer it, and he'll say, all right, Andy, your turn, get down to the studio. I'm like, all right, okay, no worries. And so we'll punch that out, and then Mark will come in, drop some solos in, and do his guitars, and then we'll, I think on this album what we did is, I think we did over about 3 or 4 sessions, we all went down there and did all of our backing vocals, where we had hundreds of layers of harmonies and backing tracks and everything. So we're just sitting there painstakingly singing, okay, now can you go one octave higher? And I'm like, oh my God, I think I'm about to burst something. And so, and that was the process. And it was a lot of fun because there's so much to it, and there were so many little bits and pieces. You kind of, at least from my point of view, I was certainly losing track of where we were going. I'm like, oh my God, like what is this actually going to sound like? But Tim had it all in his head, as said before. He's got the vision, and it eventually worked out. But yes, more of an isolation thing. We're certainly not sort of like that sort of live organic band that gets together in the studio and smashes it out together. We're a little bit clinical and sort of slap things together and do it piece by piece.
You mentioned those vocals. That was one of the things that first hit me, apart from the guitars. Well, apart from everything, really. I was going to say the guitars. Then I went, no, the drums. No, the bass. It was all fantastic. The first song, wow, what a kicker. But the lushness of the vocals, wow, man, that just kind of got me right here, you know? It's
I think one thing that we tried to do is try to punch out everybody's unique voice. So Tim's done a really great job. Obviously, he takes the reins of lead vocals, but when we're recording layered vocals, we try to get as many tones in there. So I've got a unique tone versus Mark and the other guys, and it's just a case of going in and saying, okay, where do these vocals sit, and how they're going to punch out into the mix without it being overwhelming as well. So when you listen to it, you might not sort of notice anything distinctively, but you'll appreciate the overall sound, and it'll sound good. And Tim's really good with that. And sometimes, I mean, there was one, I can't remember what song it was, but Tim was going, okay, now sing in like a really ochre accent, like try to make it sound like you're a total bogan. And I'm like, are you serious? He goes, no, trust me, because he goes, it'll give enough grit in that layer that will just make it punch out. You won't hear it. It won't stick out, but it'll give it enough sort of bottom end in there that'll give it some more sort of roughness to that vocal. I'm like, all right, I'll trust you, I think. And I mean, look, I'll give someone $20 if they can find where that is in the album. But yeah, there's a few moments there where I'm sort of raising the eyebrow, going, "Are you sure? Okay, all right, no worries. Ochre accent incoming."
Are you sure you want this?
Yeah, that's right. Or even like the Sex Pistols sort of oi oi sort of stuff.
Yeah.
A lot of that kind of stuff. So things where I'm going, oh, do we really need this on the album? He's like, no, trust me, it'll work. I'm like, okay, no worries.
The things we do in front of microphones, right?
Oh yeah. I'm just glad. I mean, in some ways, I wish we recorded, like, actually videoed a lot of that stuff. But in other cases, I'm kind of glad that it just, it's only the final product, and that's it.
No one will ever see it.
That's right. What happens in the studio stays in the studio.
Another thing, we can't talk about the album without mentioning the artwork. Oh,
yeah.
Gee, amazing.
Yeah, thank you. I think, very biased to say from my point of view, but I think it's the best artwork that we've put out for any of our releases. We've had some great stuff over the years, but I think this just pops. It's got I think the color palette I think certainly helps, but just the intricacy of the artwork. And we had a guy called Felipe Machado, I think. I always muck up his surname. My pronunciation is horrible, but he is from Colombia. He has done the last several albums for us. He did Descendants, Set in Stone, and Digital Eyes. And he has also he just recently did all the Blind Guardian reissued artwork, and he's done artwork for a number of big bands throughout Europe, and does a lot of work with Nuclear Blast and some of the other major labels. So a really well-known artist, somebody who's got a lot of credibility, and he's just somebody that's always been a big fan of us, and we've got a great relationship with him. So when we had the idea of what we wanted, and so the concept around the album and the title track, Fallen Idols, and we sort of said, okay, we want you to do this. And then he disappeared for weeks and weeks, and we didn't hear anything. We thought, oh, God, do we have to find another artist? And then he came back and he gave us the first draft, and we went, oh, okay, I think we're on the right track. And so back and forth, and eventually we came out with what it is now, and we're really, really happy with it.
It is fantastic. I mean, the colours, I want to say iconography, but too close to idols. But the iconography in there is just fantastic. It really stands out. I saw it and I went, yeah, see, that's what a metal cover needs to be.
It's something that I think, one thing that it's been a stickler for me over the years, and anybody that sort of has heard me crap on over the last several years will probably be well and truly versed with what I'm about to say. But I think over the past 20 years, or in the 2000s anyway, I think artwork really took a backseat. I think when people started to talk about the way that we listen to music and purchase music, and everybody going digital, that there was this feeling that artwork didn't matter anymore. It was like, what's the point? Because no one's buying physical music anymore. And so we had these amazing bands just releasing albums with very dialed-in covers, horrible CGI, just cut and paste sort of job where it's like looks like clip art or something like that, and you're sort of looking, going, oh man, like you're selling yourselves short, because unfortunately, like anything, I mean, the old saying is you can't judge a book by its cover, but unfortunately we all do. And when I was a kid going into in Brisbane, I'd go into Rocking Horse or the Record Exchange, and just walking in there going, oh my God, like what is in here? And not knowing anything about music apart from a couple of bands. And I'd be flicking through CDs or vinyl, and I'm buying stuff based on the album cover. And that's a similar story for a lot of people. And so for us, I think it's really important that the artwork is there's as much effort put into the artwork as the music. It's got to be a visual representation of what's in there, and I think for us, we need to, we want to win more people over. We want more people to discover the band and listen to the music and enjoy it. So if that's sitting on a shelf somewhere, or that the artwork's floating around online, that someone goes, that's interesting. I want to know more. And so it's a bait. It's a hook out there to try and bring people in. And I know that more recent years I've seen a lot of bands really up the ante when it comes to artwork. There's some incredible artwork out there now. I think it's probably one of the better eras of music when it comes to visual representation. I think the last time it's ever been this great is probably like in the early 80s when a lot of the classic stuff, Maiden and Priest and all those bands were releasing really iconic album covers. And I think these days now you've got some amazing artists that are doing incredible things for metal. So we're doing our part to ensure that we keep the standard high.
I like your cover because there's so much there. There's so many details. You keep looking at it, and then you see things like the shadows and stuff. And you go, oh,
yeah, it's cool. I think it's a great thing for people to look at. It's interesting. People can spend time on it, and you can. I mean, I just remember when I was getting into music, and I'd just get lost in the artwork. You know, you're playing the album, and you're reading the liner notes. You're following the lyrics, trying to understand what the hell the singer's singing about, and you look at the artwork, and you start to, you daydream. You start to imagine a different world, or where these people are coming from, or what's going on in the artwork, and you start to create visuals around it. And so we hope that people are. I have this vision. I hope there's someone sitting cross-legged in front of an old stereo with the CD player playing, and they're just flicking through it, just like enjoying it. I mean, I just remember me buying Megadeth's Euthanasia and just looking at that and going, oh wow, look at these babies getting tied upside down on the clothesline, and just watching it go, oh, this is so cool. So I kind of had that little feeling that I hope there's someone out there that's doing that. That'd be super cool.
How did you actually come up with the name Fallen Idols? Was there a bit of back and forth on what you'd call the album?
This is definitely a Tim thing. Tim had an idea of, I guess, this concept around this title track, this particular song. And I think it was a case of he was sort of looking through the other ideas, the other songs, and what would be a representation of the band, and I think sonically, like when you listen to that particular song, it's got a little bit of everything in that song, and it sort of is the sum total of what Lord's all about. There are other songs on the album that are definitely fringe and have different sort of different sounds that sort of push us into different extremes, but that song is fairly well rounded. So he had a lyrical theme around that particular song, and because it sonically sort of represented the band, he figured, well, that will be let's give it a title track. Let's go old school and make a title track, and we'll forge some artwork out of that lyrical content. So we've tried to make it quite. Well, I was going to say quite literal, but there's a four-eyed demon on the front of the cover, so I mean I don't know how literal that part of it is. But,
how do you get one of those?
But it's just a real sort of thought piece around sort of sort of things that are long gone now and where we are now, and I think you can draw some lines into, I guess, our own storyline as far as where we've been in the past and how we look at life. And I mean, we've all. The band, I mean, there's four guys in the band as a sense that we have a drummer, but we don't have a drummer. So, the band is Mark, Tim and myself. And so for the three of us over the years, life has thrown us in a range of different directions, and priorities change. We have kids, get married, settle down, all these different things. We all get older, and we try to work out how music fits into our lives, and it takes you on an emotional roller coaster. And you're constantly trying to find yourself. And I think there's a little bit of autobiographical sort of content dusted throughout the album in places, just some reflections and sort of thoughts about where we've been and where we're going. So it's all positive, but it's like anything. It's real life in the sense that it's the good, the bad, the ugly.
Yeah, I love music that reflects life, but it also, the possibilities.
Yeah.
And just what might be.
Absolutely.
That's all we have time for today. Listeners, Lord's latest album, Fallen Idols, is available right now. Go to Bandcamp, your favourite online music store or streaming service. Go to www.lord.net.au or visit Dominus Records at dominusrecords.com and get yourself some music, some merch. Andy, thank you so much for your time. It's been fantastic talking with you.
Excellent. Thank you so much for having me. It's been great to have a chat about all things music.
Yeah, it has. Good luck with the new album.
Thank you very much. I'm excited to get feedback from more and more people. So far, so good, but I sit there crossing my fingers. Please like it.
I'm sure they'll love it. Thank you very much. See you
Thank you.
later.